Before we get started, a quick reminder. Unlocked is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for any health concerns. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and give a thumbs up, and share across all platforms. Unlocked. Mental performance, physical results. Welcome to Unlocked. I am your host, Coach Eric, and this is all about mental performance, physical results. Today we're taking on the topic of statistics, and I'm making the bold assessment that they lie. I know. Let's talk some baseball. Lots of stats in baseball, lots of numbers in baseball. It's the lifeblood of the sport, and I'm sitting here telling you, if you aren't being paid to play, stop stressing it. Let's get the monkey off our back here, guys. I know Game Changer is a lot of fun. It is. It's great. It's also horrible. And so there's a lot of coaches out there that block it. They hate it. They refuse to use it. But overall, what I'm going to tell you is that Game Changer is a huge positive for youth sports. It's a huge positive. The stats within it are a huge negative. So how do we quantify that? How do we say they can both be a huge positive and a huge negative? Well, imagine for a moment you've got a parent that works the shifts that don't allow them to come to games. Or you've got a grandparent that is remote but still wants to be involved with the grandson's game or granddaughter's game. So they've got a softball game going, granddaughter's pitching. They want to see this, right? And they can log into Game Changer and they can see the play-by-play feed. If they have a subscription, they can even roll back and look at the previous plays. Unfortunately, that means they can also pull up the stats unless they're blocked by the coach. And if somebody has been gracious enough to live stream the game, they can watch the video feed of it. And think about how wonderful that is. You know, when I was a kid, I can remember the phone call to Pap saying, "Hey, we just played a big game. I did a big thing." Right? That was a wonderful moment. And maybe some of that is lost for kids now, but let's face it, we aren't making that many phone calls anymore anyway. It would probably have been a text to grandma going, "Hey, Gram, I did awesome. Here's a 30-second video clip of me doing something that mom took. You can sort of see me in a shaky camera way." But now, remote relatives, friends, and family can see the game in action unfolding before them. And they can be happy and cheering on this kid. And it does put a lot of kind of weird pressure from a standpoint of, there's more people watching than otherwise would be. It takes some of the recreation out of it until you step back and look big picture and go, no, it doesn't. Because that kid's not thinking about grandma watching a live stream on Game Changer. Sorry, some spam bot just messaged me on Microsoft Teams. They have a great investment opportunity for me. And we're going to go ahead and close that and keep going. So no kid is sitting there thinking about Game Changer and whether or not grandma and grandpa are watching it. So let's not make it weird. Let's not say, oh, they don't need that. They just need to get out there and play. Put that noise away. Stop with the get off my lawn stuff. That part of Game Changer is a huge positive. Where's the negative? The negative is when little Johnny or little Johnny's dad is looking at the stats and going, oh, well, so-and-so is hitting whatever. Doesn't matter. And my boy's hitting 100 points better. He should be hitting farther up in the lineup. Well, maybe he should be, but there might be a lot more that goes into it. It may be that spot in the lineup is reserved for somebody who has more power or somebody who lays down bunts. Maybe it's just that kid has a tremendously awesome swing, has been belting the ball, and he's just been hitting it right on the nose and the center fielder has been grabbing him. Because, as you're about to hear, I believe stats lie. So let's not rely too heavily on statistics to tell you the whole picture of what you're seeing. You also have to watch the game. Now, that's not an excuse for a kid who's completely struggling and can't get out of his own way and his stats are awful. That's not an excuse for that kid to say, oh, well, he's still good. His stats lie. That's not what I mean. That's not at all what I mean by stats lie. In fact, what's funny about stats is they are the absolute truth. They're math. But at the same time, they paint an incomplete picture because all they are is the math. And I know what you're thinking. Come on, coach. Come on. I don't want to talk about math. Baseball's not math. Well, of all the sports, I mean, let's face it, stats are critical in all the sports these days. But baseball has sort of been the ringleader for the sabermetrics. There's the ringleader for analytics, this terrible, evil word that's ruining sports. And I know I'm sitting here telling you that stats are bad, but they're not ruining sports. We're ruining sports because we're looking at these things and we're taking them and applying them in sample sizes that are irrelevant. Look, you cannot accomplish in one 24 game, or if you're lucky and you go deep, 30 game high school season. Heck, you can't accomplish enough statistical relevance in a 50 game travel season to really have a relevant statistically set of stats. Like they're not statistically relevant. It takes 162 games in the major leagues to have enough stats to really get a picture of a player. And that's just for that small window. When you flip over his baseball card, you've got to see all those seasons and then the cumulative stats. And what you start to realize is all these great players not only have bad weeks, bad months, bad stretches, they have bad seasons, which is why you've got to look at 10 years worth of data on the back of that baseball card to really get an idea of who that guy is. Because you can come out and have a punishing month of August and hit a whole bunch of home runs and still be back in independent ball 2 years later. Now I'm talking about a major leaguer coming in for the month of August, wrecking home run after home run after home run, flailing for 2 years and finding his way out, not only of the league, but out of organized associated baseball. And that's because that short sample size, that 20 or 30 game sample size isn't enough. And so your high school season is not enough. If you bat 250 instead of batting 400 in a high school season, that's only a handful of bats. Let me break it down for you. I know. Coach, math, you've already bored me to death. I'm ready to turn this episode off. Stick with me just a few minutes. I promise you it's not as bad as it sounds. All right. So in a really good high school season, the top players might get 100, 125 at bats. But that's actually plate appearances, not at bats. So when it comes to batting average, which might be an archaic statistic, but that's the one we're going to use today just to prove my point. You're only going to get about 75% of those plate appearances as actual batting average at bats, right? So let's say you're a starter, you accumulated 75 at bats over the course of your 110 plate appearances, right? So if you had 45 hits, you crushed it, best player in the league, you batted 600. Even if you only had 45 less of them, you're still probably one of the best, batting over 500. But as we work our way down, the difference between being a 35 hit, batting 467 all-star caliber player and batting 333 at the bottom of the lineup bubble starter player is 10 at bats, or 10, excuse me, I made a mistake here. It's 10 hits. It's 10 hits over the course of the entire season. It's 10 hits. 5 more hits and you're a benchy. Yeah, you get out 5 more times instead of getting a hit, and you're a benchy. You're batting sub 300. You're batting in the mid 200s. So you're talking about the difference of 20 hits over the course of a season for between being a superstar and a benchy. 10 or 15 between being a bubble burner, barely getting on the starting card on a consistent basis player, and a stud. 15 hits is not a big deal. 15 hits is a hit a week, maybe 2, depending on what part of the country you're in. So you're telling me that a couple of hits a week determines whether or not a guy who's playing 5 nights a week is a superstar and worth your time and your development and your effort as a coach? No. Those 2 hits aren't the difference. Those are the results. So why this kills me, why this drives me nuts, because players put so much pressure on themselves for these, and some coaches do. My general thought is most coaches don't. Most coaches don't harp on the stats because they understand that even if you're looking at the top guys getting the most at bats, it's not that big a deal. When you wind it down to the average dude, the one who only got, let's say you're an average starter, bottom of the rotation starter, you're only going to get 65 plate appearances, we'll say 50 at bats. So if you get 15 hits in those 50 at bats, you're a 300 hitter. You're holding on to your job by the skin of your teeth. 5 fewer, you're a 200 hitter, and you're probably not going to get all those plate appearances. And 5 more, you've hit 20 hits, get you batting 400. Now you're a locked-in starter. Now there's no question. So the difference between 25 hits being a batting 500 and 15 hits is 10 hits, 10 Texas leaguers, 10 beat out infield singles, 10 bunt for singles, 10 got scored wrong in game changer because your buddy was running the game changer. Is the difference between being a stud statistically and a question mark statistically. That guy, right? And we're talking about somebody who's only getting half the at-bats that some of the other more established guys are getting. And so the farther down you get, now you got the guy who's only a spot starter, maybe only plays once or twice a week, maybe over the course of the season he gets a dozen at-bats. He can go 0 for 12. And that's not going to tell you anything about how good a hitter he is, because he could have gone 12 for the next 15. And in baseball, that wouldn't have been weird. But statistically speaking, if he didn't get that second set, he's an 0 for lifetime hitter. And that's not really relevant to how good he is. But it is relevant to how he views himself. It's relevant to how his peers view himself, how his peers view him. It's relevant. Because too many people use these stats to assign value. They assign value to the player. Oh, man, he's a 500 hitter. He's a horse. All right. I hear the same thing about pitchers. Oh, man, that dude, he's throwing 93 as a sophomore. Well, that's awesome if he's throwing strikes. If he can go more than 10 or 15 pitches without having to shut it down with a growth plate injury or needing a pin in his elbow, or God save the boy if it's Tommy John. There's so much more that goes into this. There's so much more that matters. The problem we have with Game Changer, the problem we have with these stats, is they give you an incomplete picture. 50 at-bats, that's not enough to give you a really good picture of how good a player this guy is. If you aren't being paid to play and you don't have enough games to be statistically relevant, then how do you judge yourself? Look, if you're an amateur player, first of all, stop judging yourself. Work harder, but don't judge yourself. Train out your flaws, but don't judge yourself. Acknowledge you aren't perfect and you have weaknesses in your game, but don't judge yourself. Evaluate yourself. Stop with the judgment and stop judging the dude at the end of your bench, because you don't know what he's going to become if he locks in. So if you aren't being paid to play, progress is your currency. Process is your job. Results are just that. They're results. They don't define the player. Hard work, determination, reliability, leadership, and of course, skill. Those things define the player. I'm Coach Eric. This has been Unlocked. Mental performance, physical results. And if you want those results, stop worrying about your numbers in the stat column and start worrying about your numbers and the reps you're putting in. Be that guy. Thank you for listening.
Up to the plate, feeling the weight. The crowd's cheering loud, but it's up to fate. Struck out too many times, doubts creeping in, but he knows in his heart it's time to begin. He remembers the lessons, the words that they say. Keep your head up high, don't let fear lead the way. Act, take a swing, let the bats over talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, you're ready to play. The sun sun shining bright, he's feeling the heat. With every deep breath, he's back on his feet, visualizing success. He's got a new plan with the tools from Play Big. He's a brand new man. He knows it's a journey, not just a quick fix. With patience and practice, he'll find his own mix. Act, take a swing, let the back to the talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, ready to play. Setback's a lesson, every strike's a chance to rise up stronger, to take a new stance. With the crowd on his side, he's ready to show. With the ABCs in his heart, he's ready to go. Act, take a swing, let the back to the talk. Chest high, walk the walk. Breathe in deep, let the pressure unlock. You are focused, ready to rock. Commit to the moment, let the past fade away. Get back in the game, you're ready to play. So here's to the slumps, the struggles we face. With courage and commitment, we'll find our own place. Every new inning is a chance to rise. Chase the champion spirit to the skies. Every new inning is a chance to rise.